an incredible story that we saw at Frontline is the coverage of Iran. So I'm sure you all were aware of the election and the incredible use of social media and the incredible amount of stuff we were getting through informer channels. So for journalists like ourselves, we really had to think, how are we going to cover Iran? And we have this incredible case study of a woman who sits in a little, apartment in Boston who's collecting all this stuff from the internet. Essentially people she trusts, in quotes, because she doesn't actually know a lot of them. But getting images, getting stories, getting blogs, and the way that she's collected them together on the internet for us is radical in the sense that for Frontline to take something that's unedited, that's essentially from people that we don't know and trust, who aren't our trusted journalists, and put them in a package to tell you this is what's going on in Iran is, to me, radical. But there's tons of incremental changes, I think, that are going on as well. I mean, I think blogs are very similar to op-ed columns. I don't think there's a great big deal of difference in the way that we're making documentary films, although we're needing to change. So that's happening much more slowly.
Esther, what do you think?
Similar response, I call it depends, right? So it really depends on the situation, on the context of a person's use, on how much a person understands the opportunities. That's one of the points I like to remind people of. So there's still people who are not online, right? And some
I think
people
it's 30% of women in the U.S.
It's actually quite a large number if you think about it.
Yeah.
So we walk around thinking everyone's online, but not everyone's online. And one response people give to that is, well, if they don't want to be online, that's their problem or that's their choice. But my argument there is actually a lot of these people just don't realize what you can actually achieve by going online. So there are lots of opportunities, as everybody in this room, I think, understands. But if you don't know what those opportunities are, then you might not take that step. After all, it's not trivial, especially in this economy, to subscribe, to go online. It's not, even if there are library opportunities, it's not that easy if you're full-time work, et cetera, et cetera. So a really important point is to recognize that we need to get the word out about what is possible to do.
One thing to think about is that while the underlying desires and goals of most people have not radically changed, the technology inflects those kinds of practices in really interesting and unique ways. We can think a lot about what the affordances are of these technologies, that they've opened up the channel, right? Blogging wasn't really unique because of the ability to document your thoughts, to document your passions. It was unique because of the ways in which it both created a different kind of distribution channel that everybody in this room could access in a really powerful way, and it allowed for different kinds of community organizing around shared interests because of the technologies that came into play. So what happened is that the technologies introduced new opportunities, especially around taking advantage of things like distribution, things like dissemination of ideas. And the question is, how do we as individuals and as communities embrace this to do really powerful and transformative acts? So the transformativeness of this is not the technology per se, but the way in which the people who have gravitated to it really embrace it and do really transformative things with it. In some ways, we can see all of the new potential that can come into play, but the challenge is that not everybody sees that potential. And we have to also realize that this is all about community. Most of you probably got onto blogging because of somebody you knew, because of people in your physical world or in your already existing community, either online or offline. And we have to think about those networks as being really critical to all of these sort of transformations that are occurring.
So what's the future like for someone who doesn't get convinced, who doesn't learn why they belong there? What's the ultimate ramification, and how do you think that population is going to stay at, say, 30% of women in the U.S., or are we going to be able to bring that lower, and should we focus on that? Is that really important? Yes.
Okay, so as people may or may not know, there's quite a bit of money allocated in the stimulus package, actually, for getting broadband out to more and more people in the United States. What I've been arguing with respect to that, I mean, it's great to see an administration that's really supportive, again, of technology, information technology in particular. What I've been arguing, though, with respect to this broadband initiative, and it seems like there is definitely interest in this, is that in addition to getting the technology out there, just like Dana said, it's not all about the technology. And something in particular that I think is really important to focus on is people's skills. And I want to get that back to the earlier comments. So these opportunities that we have about them is a type of skill. And then even once you understand them, being able to act upon them is skill. It's actually a myriad of skills. It's lots of skills. And as Dana suggested, community really matters in this. How do you obtain skill where you can take a class or you can read up on it, but really we learn so much from those around us. And I would love to hear how people got into blogging, because that's one of those things. How do we get more, to understand how to get more people online, to get more people excited about the opportunities? One way is to see how people who are currently online got there, and how do people obtain their skills. I do a lot of studies on this, but there are not a ton of people out there studying this, unfortunately, so we don't know too much about it yet.